Welcome to gentle yoga. So it's kind of a rainy day today, kind of low-key kind of day. And of course you can be coming to this practice at any kind of day, any kind of weather. But we're going to be taking it kind of a little easier and not so much gentle as in longer holds and things like that, but just not going as deep into things and not doing anything too overly strenuous. So one of my favorite ways to begin doing a gentle yoga practice is just taking your feet about the width of your mat and just leaning back any way you like, just kind of comfortable, and just starting to let your legs go side to side. So knees crisscrossing across your body. A lot of times you'll end up inching forward a little bit as you do this. And you can stay just like that, or start to let your legs go a little more in one direction. Maybe your knees and shins come all the way down, side to side. If you're going to start going a little deeper like this, I like to add on some nice breathing. So filling up when you're on the side, exhaling as you go through the middle, filling up. And then you can add on to this by taking your arm up, going side to side, staying there, or coming up, leaving your front shin down, taking your back shin up. So almost like a side plank assisted. You can exhaling across the middle, inhaling when you're open, going side to side that way. So let this be all about your breath, extending long. One more time, doing whatever it is you're going to do. And then coming back to the middle. Now you're just going to let your knees go over to the side and take a little twist. So bring your arms across your body. You can stay here. You can come down onto your forearms and stay there. Let your head hang down. Maybe you go a little further and stack your palms and let your forehead rest. So just find a place that's a nice stretch for you, comfortable, easy going. If you want to, you can enhance the stretch across your front hip on the top leg by taking your knee back a little bit, so you're creating an opening across the front of your hip, and then adding the twist. Again, just keeping it low-key, breathing, feeling the opening wherever it's happening in your body. And then if you're not up already on your hands, come up onto your hands. And then we'll come across to the other side. So just coming over, staying up on your hands, walking around till you feel a nice twist. And then maybe coming onto your forearms, maybe coming down onto your stacked palms. If you do that, maybe put the other palm on top, on this side. And the option to scooch the knee of your top leg back a little bit, opening up the front of your left hip now if you're going the same direction I am. And notice how the change happens in your rib cage when you're breathing in and when you're breathing out. What's different? And whenever you're ready to move on, again, if you're not on your hands, come up onto your hands and come on. Done there. Back to the center. Maybe you just move around a little bit again. And then you're going to let your legs come out in front. You can be as firm with your legs pressing into the floor as you want to, or just keep them relaxed. You can even put some blocks underneath. And we'll just take a forward fold. Shake your head out. Let's pull the toes back toward your shins, flexing your feet, extending your heels away. And then either just relax that or let your toes point, taking your toes strongly in the other direction. Sometime when you're exhaling, take the flex of your foot again. And then either just relax it or point your toes. So on an inhale coming up, if you have something underneath your knees, you'll move that out of the way. And now we're going to move with our breath between different forward folds. So this is one version with your legs out straight. The intermediate pose will be with your feet, soles of your feet together, leaning forward. And then the third point will be a straddle, coming like this. So we're going to move between those using your breath. When you're inhaling, you're making a transition. Exhaling, you fold. Inhale, move to straight legs. Exhale, you fold. When you're inhaling, coming up, back to the intermediate pose with your feet together. Exhaling, folding, and then straight legs but in a straddle. As you empty, fold forward. So find that rhythm. Bound angle. Breathing up. Forward fold. Breathing up. And you're breathing when you need to. Folding in the bound angle. Next time around, it's the straddle. We're going to go through that a couple more times. So find your rhythm. Find the peace in this process. Find the gentleness. Bound angle. And straddle. One more time through. Back to the bound angle. And the forward fold with your legs out in front, and we'll pause there again. So it might feel very different from the first one, hopefully. You can let your forearms drop down toward the floor, pulling your shoulder blades away from each other on your back. Tuck your chin in, and then fill up that space on your back with air. And hold that in, one of these breaths. And at some point, you'll let the air out through your mouth. While your head is down, wiggle your jaw around. And then sometime when you're breathing in, come on back up. And now we're going to take the bound angle and stay there for a few breaths. So leaning forward, you can let your arms come out in front to bring a little more weight toward the forward fold, or you can take your hands around behind and press from behind. That's my preferred method, because I get kind of stuck. So if you're pressing from behind still, see if you can keep your shoulders moving back, not pushing forward toward your ears. And you're using your outer leg muscles to try to encourage your knees toward the floor, your thighs toward the floor. And that's going to signal your brain to tell your inner thigh muscles to let go. So come to a place where you feel like you're able to have something lengthen and open up. And stay here as long as you want. We're going to do the straddle next, so if you want to spend more time here, you can stay here and just join in with the straddle later. If you're ready to move on, your next breath in takes you up to sitting. Bring your hands underneath your knees to bring your legs together, and then in the front, inside of your knees to help you come to your straddle. And again, folding forward, trying to get the rounding out of your back so you're not rounding this way if possible. Maybe you tuck a cushion under your sit bones. Just kind of trying to tip your pelvis and then fold it forward from there. So find where you're going to be spending your breaths here. You can be pressing the backs of your legs into the floor. You can be trying to dial your toes toward the pinky toe side, so outwardly rotating your legs. You can even take your hands to your legs and try to take the center line, or the inner thigh, up more toward the ceiling. And if you do that, you'll feel more of a stretch, which you may or may not want. So it's totally optional. But you're here, you're present, working with your breath, finding a physical position that is tolerable, maybe enjoyable, such that something can let go when you're exhaling, especially. So again, you can stay a little longer if something really good is happening for you right now. If you're done, your inhale takes you back up, and put your hands on the inside of your knees to help you bring your legs in together again, outside to bring your knees together. Good. Let's bring the legs out in front again one more time. Exhaling, forward fold. And shake your head out. Let's take a little neck stretch here. So bring your right ear over to your right shoulder. You can reach your left hand back behind you. And then as your head comes to neutral, your hand slides back, fill up with air, and as you exhale, your head can go over to the left, and maybe your right hand reaches back behind you for the lengthening of the right side of your neck. And then you'll let your head drop back, hand comes back if it went out. Breathing one more time in. Holding it, let it go through your mouth. Again, make any funny faces down underneath where no one can see you, releasing tension from your face. And then on an inhale, rising up. Shake everything out. And then come over your legs onto your hands and knees. So I'm going to suggest that you maybe tuck your toes underneath just to get a little stretch on the bottoms of your feet while we're moving our spine. So just let your spine be neutral, look down at your hands and spread your fingers out away from each other as much as you can so your whole hand is supporting you. And then one of these times when your lungs are nice and full and you're ready to exhale, you'll go into cat, dropping your tailbone, dropping the crown of your head and lifting everything else up, filling up into your back. Let it go. And then anytime you like when you're breathing in, your tailbone can rise, let your spine ripple up until the crown of your head is lifting equally. Take your jaw forward. Breath or two there. And then on an exhale, back to cat. And just move at your own breath pace. So it might be you're moving every breath, or maybe you take a complete round of breath in each pose, each side of this thing. Spine movement. So you're being gentle with yourself, finding ways to open things up by allowing things to happen. And then coming back to a neutral spine at some point, keeping your toes tucked. We're ready for our downward dog. Keep your knees just as they are and just lift your hips and straighten the line between your arms and your torso. So your knees are bent in this downward dog, still pressing into your whole hand. Lengthening your spine, lengthening your shoulder joints, breathing, emptying. And then if your hamstrings are happy after all of our forward folding, then maybe your heels can drop toward the floor without losing the length in your spine. And then we'll come back to the hands and knees. Let your feet go, so now you get a little stretch on the tops of your feet, back to a child's pose. So let your forehead rest on the floor if it can, or if not, then on your hands or maybe a block. Find a way to be that you just feel like gravity is sucking you down toward the floor. Everything is succumbing. And then one of these times, your breath makes you so light that you can float up against gravity. Exhale back to downward dog. And now we're just going to move through those positions. So breathing in to let your knees come to the floor. Exhale back to your child's pose. Some in-breath takes you back up. And the subsequent out-breath back to downward dog, whatever version you want. And then your inhale back to your knees. Exhale, child's pose. Inhaling back up to your hands and knees, tuck your toes. Exhale, downward dog. A few more times like this, again, getting into the meditative flow with your breath. Rising up as you inhale. Lifting hips as you exhale. Dropping to your knees as you breathe in. And dropping your hips as you breathe out. Again, going through, rising hands and knees. Exhaling, downward dog. Inhaling, hands and knees. On your exhale, child's pose. Stay in this child's pose for a few more breaths. If you want to give a little relief to your wrist, you can lift your forearms up off the floor and circle your wrists around here. Maybe you make fists and then open your hands wide, moving your fingers around. Do what feels nice. And then let your forearms rest back on the floor if you took that option. You can wiggle your hips side to side a little bit. And then spend 3 more breaths just still, noticing the benefits of the pose for your mental and physical state. Filling up empty. So one time when you're breathing in, come back up onto your hands and knees. And again, downward dog. And walk your feet up to the front. Take a forward fold. Maybe you're using blocks. Shake your head out. And we're coming up to stand up. For the first time, hand over head and bringing your hands down to the center, pausing at your heart with your hands resting against your chest. Eyelids dropped if you're comfortable doing that. Shoulder blades dropping down your back as well. Breathing there. Sometime when you're exhaling, as your hands drop, your eyelids can open and bring your arms up overhead as you breathe in, folding back down. Take your right foot to the back of the mat and let your right knee come down. Keep your right hand on the floor or on a block as your left hand comes forward and then up and to the side for a little twist. Using your core muscles to deepen the twist to a place that feels good. And then let your hand continue the journey back to the floor. Slide your left foot back, downward dog. And you can bring your knees to the floor, hands and knees, and then back to child's pose if you want to keep this really low key. Or maybe you can come forward to a plank pose with your knees up or down. And then lower to the floor. Take a cobra. And then we'll join those wise people who went straight to child's pose. Pulling back. You can anchor your hands onto the floor and create a little traction in your spine and in your shoulders. As you make your way back, letting your hips get heavy, dragging your hands so your forearm might be lifted off the floor, feeling a little length in your side body. Breathing into that. And then on an exhale, just letting your forearms relax down if they were up. At some point, you'll breathe up onto your hands and knees again. Back to downward dog. And then bring your right foot up in front so your left knee can come to the floor. Your left hand will stay on something. And then you can bring your right arm forward and take the twist the other way. Again, being aware of the work in your core that's making this twist happen. And then bring your right hand down to the floor. Bring your left foot up to the front. Take a forward fold again. Shake your head out. Allow the breath to come in and out. And then the next time the breath is coming in, stand up tall. Hands down the center line. Again, pausing with your hands at your heart, eyelids dropped. Pressing down into your feet and lifting up away from that. And again, on an exhale, hands drop, eyelids lift, arms rising as you breathe in. Hands down to the floor as you breathe out. Take your left foot to the back. Let your knee come down again. Left hand on the floor, right hand coming around. This time you'll take your back knee up. And then bring your right hand around and then ground your back foot down, coming up For warrior two, just keep it really low key. And then straighten your right knee. And we're going to move with the breath again through these poses. So coming forward, triangle pose, bending to side angle, bending the right knee, and then coming back up, warrior two. On an inhale, straightening your right leg, reaching forward, triangle, and then side angle, bending your right knee and extending your left arm long. Back up to warrior two, so your right knee stays bent, and then straighten your right leg. A couple more times through. Again, trying to find that meditative state, so we're going to triangle, side angle, warrior two, breathing up, reaching forward, triangle, turning this into side angle, warrior two. One more time around so you can really find the flow. Reaching forward, side angle, and then you'll come to warrior two. Find your warrior two, and then windmill one hand to either side in the front, right leg to the back. And again, if you're keeping the gentle theme, you'll bring your knees to the floor and then go back to child's pose. If you want to come through the vinyasa, legs up or down, you can do that, and then lower to the floor, forward to chaturanga. Find cobra or upward dog, and then we're going to go back to child's pose again, maybe doing the traction, and then surrendering completely to the floor. Breathing there. Feel free to make any weird faces to release the tension that might have crept back into your facial muscles. And breathing up onto your hands and knees. Tuck your toes, lift your hips high for downward dog, and then bring your left foot to the front. Let your right knee come down for a moment, and you'll take the twist with your left arm reaching forward. Tuck your toes if they're not already tucked, and lift your back knee high. And then as your left hand comes forward, your right hand is going to go to the back, grounding your right heel to find warrior two. And we're going to do that flow again. So now you should know where you're going. Breathing up and reaching forward, dropping into your version of triangle, and then your version of side angle, and then up to warrior two. On an inhale, straightening your left leg. As you breathe out, you reach forward, drop to triangle. At some point, your left knee bends and your right fingers reach forward. And now your right fingers pull you up to warrior two. And then next breath in, rising, straight left leg, triangle pose. Bending into side angle, right arm comes forward. Lifting to warrior two, your right arm reaches back. A couple more times, lifting up. Find the flow with your breath. Side angle. Warrior two. Last one through. Lifting, left leg straight. Reaching forward for triangle pose. And then side angle. And warrior two. Pausing here just for a moment. Again, we're trying to keep it low key. Hands to the floor. Back to downward dog. Always an option to just drop to your knees and then hips to your heels for child's pose. Otherwise, you come forward and lower to the floor. Open yourself up. And then pull